Today on the net, the Syrian regime accused of using cluster bombs against rebels. American CEOs urging their employees to vote against Barack Obama. And an Australian publishing company gets Twitter users to describe books in 10 words. This video, apparently filmed in the region of Idlib in northern Syria, was posted to the internet on Sunday. British blogger and arms expert Elliot Higgins says the footage appears to show a cluster bomb that didn't deploy correctly and appears to have detonated with all the small bombs still inside. Online images, which coincide with a statement released by the state-run Sana news agency on Monday, denying claims the Syrian army has been using cluster munitions, which are in fact banned by more than 100 countries. And yet, according to Human Rights Watch, there are numerous amateur documents purporting to show loyalist forces using these bombs against rebels. The NGO suggests they've been doing this since July. This footage, dated from last week, is thought to show a cluster bomb canister and its explosive submunitions thought to have been dropped around the town of Tamanea. Philippe Boulopion, the United Nations director at Human Rights Watch, is concerned about the harm these bombs could do to civilians. He refers to a number of videos which appear to show men and children handling unexploded submunitions. Most of the cluster bombs are said to be Russian-made, outdated weapons which sometimes fail to detonate on impact but can explode later if moved even slightly.
Over large areas, sometimes dozens, hundreds of them on the...
The November 6th US presidential election is fast approaching, and with campaigning entering its final weeks, some of America's most powerful CEOs have decided to speak up and use their influence. And it's pretty obvious whose side these big company bosses are taking. They're urging employees not to grant the current US President, Barack Obama, a second term in office. Arthur Allen, for example, chief executive of ASG Software Solutions, sent an email to all of his staff explaining why he didn't want the outgoing president re-elected in November. In the email, which is available to read in its entirety on the website of American TV network MSNBC, Allen claims that Obama doesn't have sufficient experience to deal with a financial crisis and urges his employees to vote, although he doesn't name any names, for his Republican opponent, described as the only one capable of getting the US back on track. The email concludes with a warning along the lines of, if the current president wins the upcoming election, then employees' jobs may be at stake. It may seem a somewhat surprising initiative, but this isn't an isolated case, far from it. David Siegel, the multi-millionaire boss of Westgate Resorts, also sent a long email to his staff last week, slamming Obama's economic policy from 2008 onwards, and saying if he's re-elected, the company will have to lay off a large proportion of its 8,000 employees. And with unemployment rates in the US currently a major concern, arguments like this could well hit home with voters.
It took me a while.
A new social network called Top That was launched last week, on which you can set your friends and other members challenges and competitions. And if users aren't being judged, well, they can get involved in the judging. So it's a user-generated competition network. And hopefully the competitive nature of web users will help it stand out in the already saturated world of social networking. Australian publishing company Text Publishing is asking Twitter users to describe a book in 10 words under the hashtag 10wordbooks. The thread contains reviews of modern bestsellers and great literary classics, including Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and also The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Some have tried to sum up the plot, whilst others have focused on the moral of the story, and more often than not with a comical, sarcastic even, take on the chosen work. 6 months. That's how long it took Reed Gower to complete this time-lapse video. Discover the Earth's natural wonders, but also some of the man-made marvels in 8 different countries, including the United States, Turkey, the Czech Republic, and also Austria. This stunning video is available to view in its entirety on all good video sharing platforms.
Whoosh.